The Democrat disaster gets even worse, and the Now Party is looking for uber-progressive AOC to save them. Dems are in the deepest hole in nearly 50 years, and this may not be rock bottom. The party has its lowest favorability ever. Young voters are flocking to the right. Americans are fleeing blue states in droves, and they have no national leader. Don't believe me? Watch for yourself.
Are you feeling pressure to step down?
Look, I'm not stepping down.
The American people are fed up with the old guard. There needs to be a renewal.
This looks like game over, and the reason why people are voting with their feet is a lot of what your book is about.
Yeah,
taxes and regulation.
You know what the problem is with the left? They seem too lame. They do. They gotta.
It's true.
It needs a revamping.
Meanwhile, Bernie is touring the country trashing Trump, Elon, and the oligarchs. The socialist blowhard doesn't want to answer the tough questions plaguing his party.
Would you like to see her join in the Senate?
Right now, we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
No, I asked you.
Okay.
You want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there with you.
No, fine, but I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
I was just going to ask you one more question about you. I mean, that's all. I was literally your last.
What is your question?
Well, I mean, it's easier if you're sitting.
But is there a far-left light at the end of the tunnel? The New York Times is hyping up AOC as the 2028 answer to all of the Democrats' problems. All right, Jessica, there's no question that the party has its lowest favorability in at least half a century. It means they have virtually no credibility. You really have to work hard to get here, don't you?
We're exhausted from working this hard. It's bad. Of course, it's bad. We just lost an election. We have to rebuild. We have to figure it out. I think that people are flocking to AOC and Bernie because they are capturing the spirit of the moment, which is where you need to be real opposition. You need to have backbone. You can't be spineless about these things. There was an interesting exchange online where John Fetterman went after AOC, and then Connor Lamb, who lost to Fetterman in the primary for that Senate seat, was a conservative Democratic congressman, and Tim Ryan came to AOC's defense over Fetterman because they understand that she is meeting the moment. But all hope is not lost. Healthcare is going to be an incredibly important part of the discourse. Democrats still lead on who's best to handle that. And I'm increasingly thinking that James Carville was right in saying that we should take a bit of a breather and run out the clock a bit here and watch what happens. So Donald Trump's ratings on handling the economy, inflation, cost of living are all tanking. And we're seeing this administration's incompetence and recklessness on a scale unimaginable. I'm sure you guys saw this incredible Jeffrey Goldberg piece from right before we got on air a couple years ago about Goldberg, who is a journalist at The Atlantic, being invited into a private Signal chat with all of our national security heads. So Rubio, Hegseth, Waltz, Tulsi Gabbard, Scott Bessent's in there, et cetera. And they are planning on just Signal to drop bombs in Yemen. So they're not doing this in a skiff. They're doing it on an app that you and I, we all have on our phones. And it's obviously incredibly reckless, national security risks. I don't want to ever hear butthurt emails again. I don't know what's going to happen to anyone who's involved in something like this. But on top of it, you have the vice president. He's in there as well, contradicting Donald Trump on his policy on Europe. So all of this is going on. We're only a couple months into this administration. And when Carville says, let's see what they do, you get stuff like this.
Makes you happy.
No,
Okay.
No, but it
Jesse.
does confirm when people said that folks were getting these jobs that didn't deserve them, that's probably the case. And I'm sure
they make a mistake.
This is a
and you're happy.
mistake.
Just admit you're happy.
I'm not. No,
Okay,
I'm
can
actually.
I go to Jesse here?
Yeah.
All right,
Greg
Jesse,
started.
you know what? Some of the Dems say that they're fed up with the old guard, but isn't the failure of the party about the progressives, which are ostensibly the younger group? And, are they blaming, who are they blaming
Let's
now?
not let them think the progressives are the problem. Let's let them run AOC. They're 0-2 running women, so I think just roll the dice again, run AOC, and let the chips fall. It is funny how the old guard tries to keep the young generation down. It's creating this little bottleneck. It's fun to watch. We had that problem. We don't have that anymore. We have a whole new, fresh crew of young bloods running around. And yeah, they accidentally leaked something to the media instead of
They didn't leak it, they invited
Democrats
him in.
actually leaking classified information to to the media, Jessica.
No.
All right? At least they didn't homebrew a server and acid wash it. But her emails, I just did it. A famous
Mar-a-Lago
Greek...
toilets,
a
and they
famous...
invited him in.
Mar-a-Lago toilets?
Yeah,
What are you talking
where
about?
the national security secrets that were
This is a
subpoenaed.
family show, Jessica. Clean it up.
Can we just stick with
All
the
right?
topic today?
A famous Greek philosopher, Jessica, Heraclitus or Clitus, I don't know. I hope it's not the last one.
Watch your mouth.
It's definitely not Heraclitus.
Said change is the only constant in life. And Democrats forgot that axiom because they thought they'd always have the youth vote. They thought that the non-white vote would keep Democrats in power forever, but they were both wrong. But they have longer-term structural problems. All of these people are leaving blue states and moving to red states, and you guys are losing electoral votes. So the next election, you could win the entire Rust Belt and then not hit 270 because you didn't think the people had the agency and the initiative to leave your horrible dens of corruption and incompetence and go to a place with greener pastures or redder pastures. You've lost the culture, you've lost your credibility, and you've lost your two pillars of propaganda, Twitter and the media. So right now you're in a civil war. The normie wing of Fetterman and Rahm want to do things right. And then you have AOC and Bernie. And I see three scenarios, Jessica. I see you guys running a progressive and having that person get demolished and the normies say, see, I told you so. Or you run a normie and the progressives boycott it. And then they lose again. Or an independent pops up. And he basically fractures the party like Perot did to the Republicans, and you lose again. All of these are losing scenarios that I just laid out. Do you have a winning scenario?
Let's go to Dana. Dana, now you've got Bernie Sanders and AOC, and they're getting some big crowds. And Bernie Sanders is now admitting that, you know, the Democratic Party was wrong about the border and that Trump was right about cracking down on the border. But AOC doesn't agree with that. She's totally opposite. I mean, so as a team, they're not really on the same side.
I think that their crowds, it is impressive. Like if you have the fact that the Democrats are basically in the doldrums and circling the drain, and then you get, 20,000 people to show up at an event. But I think that they could have done that anyway, because Bernie Sanders has had a constituency for a long time. It's sort of like Ron Paul has a constituency. Like people love him. There are people who love Bernie Sanders. And AOC is smart and she's opportunistic. And she says, I can help. And Bernie is smart because he knows I'm 83 years old. I need somebody to come out here and help me with these crowds. And she can whip up a crowd. The problem is they're not building any numbers. They're just replowing the same old ground. She said over the weekend, we need someone who will fight harder for us, not fight smarter. And that's one of their big problems. They have already lost the working class to MAGA. Mm-hmm. So they're sitting there saying, the rich people are awful, and MAGA saying, yeah, we agree, the rich people are terrible. But their big constituency is college-educated women. And now they have them, but the youth vote is so interesting. This new report that David Shore did said that that is the thing that is the most alarming to him. And it's almost like the reverse of what happened in the 60s. Or I would say 60s. And so we're living through this political realignment. And I would also add just one other thing. There's all the sorts of things that happen, the COVID closures in the Biden administration, but the obsession from Obama through Biden on climate change, in which they used a lot of taxpayer dollars in order to fund some crazy stuff that is going to have lasting implications. Not only was there corruption and fraud, Stacey Abrams getting $2 billion, for example, but also if you live in New Jersey, for example, you are about to have to swallow a huge increase in your electricity rates. Why? Because that state government under Phil Murphy has pushed through something even more onerous than even the ones that are here in New York City. So all of these things are continuing to remind people who have an affordability problem that the Democrats don't stand for them.
You know, Greg, it took 4 years for the Democrat Party to pretty much throw Joe Biden over the edge. Now it appears that within 3 months, they're ready to throw Schumer over the edge. I mean, did they learn their lesson, or are they just lost at sea?
I think the big lesson here is that young voters are flocking to the right. And all I could say is, you're welcome, America. Kids can't get enough of America's bad boy. Dems are like zombies. Don't kid yourself. They always come back. They always turn into, though, something else. Political correctness, if that was ice cream, wokeism is gelato. They come back more intense, more concentrated, which raises the question, how should our reaction be when, and it's a when, not an if, the Democrats return? Will they be worse or will they be better? Better, let's say they return to the middle and they disown identity crisis, identity politics, which has turned their party toxic and helped destroy this country, nearly destroy it. If they disown that, we should support it. And we should say, you know, a strong and healthy competitive party makes us better, too. It helps us focus our ideas. But if wokeism returns as something else, and the Dems love to change the names of things, pronouns, abortion, buildings, Marxist ideas, it will come back under a different name. Then you have to ridicule it. You have to destroy it. And the Republican Party has to become, yet again, a sanctuary city for Democrats who are leaving, which are like half the people in Trump's cabinet, including Trump himself. The problem that Democrats have, and they're seeing it now, is it happened at ESPN, CNN, and MSNBC. When the competent flee, the incompetent, who no one will hire and no one wants, stays behind. And that concentrates itself further because they can't really go anywhere. So they triple down on their own ideas, their own sunk costs. So the woke gets woker, the aggrieved gets more unhinged. They become what's left. Pretty much you have an unsalvageable party. So I don't think the Dems quite understand the problem that they are in. Identity politics has segregated their party from human connection so that everybody's competing for victimhood and the rest of us are like, we don't want to have anything to do with it. We see the problem. It's inside their party. Can their party see that? They've missed all the big stuff. They missed Biden. They missed COVID. They missed the laptop. I think they might be missing the tumor that's inside their party, and it's malignant.
The tumor.
The tumor.
It's a tumor.
It's metastasizing.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.